January 18th meeting to order, our Borough Council, and I'm going to ask everybody to stand, say the pledge. We lost another icon in Fountain Hill this past 2 weeks ago. I'm going to ask for a moment of silence for Mr. Spadation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I would note for the record we're all here with the exception of Ms. Graham. As usual, the first item of business is the approval of the minutes of the January 3rd meeting. I looked at them, I didn't see any corrections. Anybody else find some? Any? Seeing and hearing none, I will ask for a motion to approve minutes of the January 3rd meeting. Ms. Jordan, Mr. Trable, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And it includes a couple of abstentions.
Yes, so will I.
There are no presentations. Privilege of the floor. Anybody wish to address council? The sign-up sheet was just placed, so if anybody wishes to address council on any issue, now's the time. Seeing and hearing none. A resolution for final passage, or resolution number 2023-9. A resolution of Fountain Hill Borough Council appointing Christina Bennett for a 3-year term on the planning commission.
Zoning hearing board.
Zoning hearing board.
It is a reappointment. The only reason this was not addressed at the first meeting is we had some communication issues. But she is interested in serving again, so that's why we put her on the agenda for tonight for final passage. So it's a reappointment.
It's a reappointment. She's been serving. And is there a motion to approve that? Mr. Trable, is there a second? Mr. Trotter, any questions on the motion? Hearing and seeing none. Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. Jordan?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
Mr. Trotter? Yes. Mr. Trable? Yes. And I vote yes. Senator Leather, please.
Yes, sir.
Resolution, this is a draft resolution, this is up for
This is just a review. It'll be on the agenda for the February 6th meeting for final vote.
Resolution 2023-10, the resolution of the Borough Council authorizing the application for a grant from the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development. What's that all about?
So this would be the fair share grant for casino money, the local share account funds. So the decision was supposed to be at last year's, if you recall, we applied for the police car, but they tabled it until it's supposed to occur this week sometime on the 2022 money. But the period is opening very soon for the 2023 money. We just got a quote today. It'll be right around $55,000 for another police vehicle for next year. So, yeah, pricing has increased exponentially.
And they don't make cars anymore.
Yeah, you gotta get either a truck or an SUV. And Ford's discounting on CoStar's and government fleet vehicles went from 18% last year, 2022 to 4%. And the cost went up. And they took the liberty of canceling our order we placed for 22 in 2021 for the pickup truck for the fire department. And then told us we were welcome to reorder, but they're not holding the price. So that went up $17,000. So, yeah. So luckily we have money in the fire fund to do that, so we just made the adjustment, but because it's not going to get any cheaper, and that's the sad reality of this. But anyway, so this would be to authorize that, so we'll have it prepared. We're waiting on the quotes. This is just up for review to make sure everyone's okay. Obviously, we're okay applying for it. Is everyone okay trying again to get that to fund police car? So, okay. So we'll have that completed in full and ready for final passage then for the February 6th.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the draft ordinance for review and advertising ordinance number 873 to create 3 handicap spots. 2 of them are on the sheet of the revised agenda. The third one was cut off by those.
Yeah, 1109 Stanley Avenue front was in, and my boss cut it off unbeknownst to me, I think, when I made the revisions, and just happened to do that. So when the ordinance is advertised, it will be advertised complete with those three, so that notice will be out, and that will be up, depending on when it goes, either probably February 16th. We should have enough time to get it out there for advertising for those three. We have all the applications, and they all meet the requirements.
All right. The next draft ordinance for review and advertising is 874, amending the Borough of Fountain Hill Police Pension Plan and Trust to change the disability limit. That's in accordance with the contract, I believe.
Correct, yes, it is to match the new terms of the collective bargaining agreement for the pension changes. So it was prepared by our pension plan administrator, Mackinac, and reviewed with a few minor edits by our solicitor, so that is ready to go for final passage on 2/6. Again, just for review this month.
Okay, anybody have any comments on that, or questions? It's just an administrative change, correct?
Yes, sir, just to mirror the collective bargaining agreement, but it is part of the legal requirements to put that in effect.
Anybody have any questions, comments? Hearing moved, seeing none, we'll move forward. Old business. Planning Commission review of the light ordinance amendment. What's going on there?
So we had our first planning commission meeting in this month for probably quite some time because we had business, including this. They had voted to recommend that the ordinance go back to, I don't have my agenda, that the ordinance go back to House ordinance for review and reconstruction, because they feel like there is a number of things that are going to be difficult to enforce because we don't have the capability of measuring some of the items. I have specific comments on it that they would like addressed, but the short of it is their recommendation is that it goes back to House and Ordinance Committee, and we can revisit it there and take in some of their feedback and see what needs to be retooled before final passage.
All right, do you have any problems with that, sir? Mr. Wu?
No.
Okay, perfect. All right, the Planning Commission, the review of proposed text amendment. What's that all about?
So Mr. Pimperato was here, spoke to council regarding the proposed text amendment to reduce the required lot size per dwelling unit. So that went in front of the Planning Commission for their review and comment. The recommendation from the Planning Commission is to approve the change as requested to 1,150 square feet per dwelling unit, only in the town center district. It was also on the table to do it borough-wide, and they elected, and eventually it was a unanimous vote to make the recommendation for town center only. So based on that recommendation, our solicitor is going to start work on a proposed amendment, as long as council is in favor of moving forward, and then it will be brought here for your review, and council has the final vote. We'll have to have an advertised public meeting to do that.
Right, does that have to go to the plan?
It is also, it's sent to LVPC, yes. Yep.
All right, and any questions on that? Seeing, hearing none, the joint EMA director with Salisbury update.
So that was advertised. They have several candidates already so that are qualified. So Kathy from Salisbury, their manager, is not opposed to the concept. I think when they bring their candidates in, either I'm going to go up the interviews or I trust Sabo to do them. And I think that is definitely the direction we need to move forward in. Just trying to find someone with the qualifications to do it in our small borough. We've got a township. There's not that much of a workload that somebody can't do both municipalities. And like I said, the candidates they have several candidates that already have required certifications. So my recommendation would be that we go along with that. But again, that's just an update on it. We're not any further towards placing a name yet.
Anybody have any questions on that for seeing, hearing none? Recreation Committee, Ms. Johnson, what was discussed?
So we discussed the pool, we discussed the playground, and we discussed pickleball, the 3 Ps. We, I think, came to an agreement on some proposed rates for hiring pool staff. We did have a lengthy discussion on the pool, and we understand that staffing is going to be the #1 determinant, not just lifeguard staffing, but cashiers as well in regards to opening the pool. So we'll, Eric and I can write that up and have that on the agenda to review for the February meeting. And then there were some updates given by the coalition to Eric, and we reviewed them in regards to updates on things that they'd like to see, community outreach that they've made in regards to recruiting lifeguards and pool staff. In regards to the playground, we reviewed that we have staff coming back. We discussed the option of giving returning staff a quarter raise, and then keeping the rate for new staff the same. I think that will encourage people to come back and work. We do have our playground manager coming back this year, so that's exciting. And then we talked about the roof for the pavilion and the playground building, and what's going on there. That's on the agenda, and budgeted for 2024. And then update in regards to the park equipment has been installed and is the change what we had to fix.
Yeah, all the necessary repairs, all the materials, and has been repaired by Public Works.
Mm-hmm.
I missed the meeting. Was the topic of the contracting out to the YMCA discussed for us?
No.
No. There's no interest in that?
No.
We're trying to do it in-house.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're going to try that.
All right.
The only other thing that was brought up is they believe they have enough labor to do and donations for materials to both paint the pool building, and they are also offering on the caulking of those joints. So again, that's council's decision. If we do that, we will need, and again, this could be a February meeting discussion when the solicitor's here, but just to put it in everybody's head, we would then need to move forward with the $300 for the volunteer insurance if we're willing to do that. But I would like to have that conversation when Jason's here and our solicitor's here, and we can weigh all those options. So just again, put it in your head, something to think about, but we can discuss it in February.
I agree.
Excuse me, what exactly do they want to do?
Paint
As
the pool
far as
building
repairing
and
the pool?
paint the pool building and caulk the joints.
The sidewalk, not the pool.
No, not the pool. No. Jason would do the pool. So I mean, and they could. I mean, painting the pool is just painting. I mean, it's special paint, but I mean, certainly they're offering their services out. So it's a discussion that again I would rather have when Jason's here. But it was discussed tonight at the meeting, so I just want to put that in everybody's head. That's something we need to address in February sooner than later.
And part of what they brought to you, the coalition, as far as, are they still going to have supply of lifeguards? I mean, that was part of a conversation before.
So it seems like now, I mean, there is some interest, Mr. Zofko himself and some other folks, but it seems like they're focused now and they've made inroads at Bethlehem School District and also VOTech, and they are trying more those avenues to make recruitment, which is one of the reasons they wanted us to discuss rates and what we're looking at is time from opening to close and those types of things. So we didn't. I don't know how many people they're physically going to have themselves, but they're actually seem to have transitioned their focus to being recruitment for local kids and college kids, and maybe a teacher for the pool manager position.
And then the last thing we discussed was the option of, or the possibility of installing a pickleball court where the sand volleyball court currently is. We discussed cost of that, and the big cost, it seems, is going to be fencing for that. That's about half of the cost.
Yeah, there was supposed to be a fence there now.
Yeah.
And it was never put there, and that allows the animals to get in and use the sand box
Yeah.
as their restroom.
Yeah. So I think Eric gave us a quote. I think Salisbury put 2 in, and he said they were about $50,000 each, or that was the quote from last year.
That was a quote. That was a quote for the whole project.
The whole
so,
project.
I mean, you're looking at obviously it's not you can't have the baby, but it It's a,
But half of that cost is the fence.
yes, half of their cost was the fence. So for us, I would say more realistic is 2/3 to 3/4 to do a smaller footprint for one court, which wouldn't involve any grading, like that would fit within the footprint that's there. But that is with Public Works doing the work. That is with Jason and his guys doing the work. We're paying. No, fencing would go out. Yes. Yeah.
So, there's discussion with St. Luke's in regards to options of things they might want to donate. So we're gonna see what happens there and also look at grant options to get money for the pickleball court. But if things work out for that, then we would look to start that project in the fall after the summer.
We can find a funding source, but I think with the pool this year and you know everything else, and trying to still pave some alleys that we need to get done, it's just realistic because there's no way we're going to have the manpower to do it internally. So, yeah. So we'll take these as they come, but you know, I think it's a great community project, and I think there's going to be a ton of use for it. It's just again finding the manpower and the funding, but we can work on that.
Any questions for Ms. Johnson? Seeing and hearing none, discussion item, new business, request to ordain the school traffic map?
Yeah, you mean an ordinance. You ordain it.
All right. We request for an ordinance for the school traffic pattern. I know it's a mess up there, and pick up time and drop off.
So honestly, from in speaking with a lot of the officers, and I know the chief can correct me if I'm wrong, but this came from Officer Wood. The concern now is that, like, he seems to agree, and he showed me drone footage. You know, he seems to agree it's working. The issue we have is really it's not. Like, there's nothing on the books officially as a law to enforce it. So they're following the one-way pattern, and there's like the school's trying, you know, it's temporary no parking on that side of Moravia Street during school to pick up and drop off hours. But they feel like they would have more teeth to help the situation if it was enforceable and signed, like no parking during these hours, one way only during these hours. You know, and looking at that, there's a number of municipalities that do that. You just put the permanent signage up. I think we're starting to get some muscle memory from folks that are new to the school, but that know that during pickup and drop-off hours. But we put the signage up so that, and we would put it in the ordinance like we have for other places where there's no parking from 8 to 9:30. The bus zone had a sign that had the hours, and that disappeared because it's on Google Street View, but it's not there now. So I might have faded, or I don't know what, but Jason also pointed that out, that yes, we had that in the past. So it would just be a matter of drafting an amendment to the various schedules of the parking ordinance to make that so, and then putting signage up once passed. So if that's something that council is willing to entertain, I will go ahead and we'll work with the solicitor, draft something, and then we'll bring it up for review next month. But again, just it was brought to my suggestion by Officer Wood, and I think most of the guys can see that it's working well. Yeah. It would just be nice to make it permanent rather than dragging barricades and So.
And I would note that without an ordinance, the signage is not enforceable. Is that correct, Chief? And if you want to see what temporary signs and temporary blockage looks like with the Roosevelt School, they have them down there, just on South Street, in the street across from St. Paul's.
Yeah, and that is talking to the Allentown Traffic Unit. Those are that is an ordinance, so those are enforceable there. They just supplement it because of the amount of traffic off Susquehanna with those barricades as well. But there's actually permanent signs up there as well too.
They are. I've seen them. Anything else on that? Hearing, seeing none, there's no council action items. We're back to privilege of the floor. Anybody wish to address council? Please go over to the mic, name and address, please.
Hi, I'm Iris Hill. I'm just going to leave my North Pole Street. I was, because of the traffic pattern discussion at the school, I remember asking about like the snow clearance, like having the snow cleared, and there was some kind of, I don't remember exactly, but if it was the school district's responsibility to clear the streets on Lake Moravia Street. When my son went there, when I worked up there, there was always like snow packed up on the side, which created like an issue for people that were picking up their kids, like not parking, but then they're like in the middle, you know what I mean? And I remember asking about if that was the borough or if that was the school district's,
Well, it's the borough's responsibility to plow the streets. The snow obviously has to go somewhere.
right,
And it does create a problem.
yeah,
And the people are, while the snow is still there until it falls, people are going to have to just handle it the best they can in the most civilized way.
okay, yeah, that makes sense, and I just thought I'd ask, because it does get a little tricky with kids, like, trying to climb over it or sliding, and then there's cars and they're running in between, so it does become a really, like, kids don't have any understanding of, like, how to cross the street even in general, so when you add, obstacles and slippery surfaces, it does create, dangerous.
If we would have an instance where we would need to go to snow removal, so obviously a tremendously large snowstorm or multiple snowstorms, where you're getting that packed along the side of the road, the first priority is the snow emergency route, which is Delaware.
Yeah,
So once that's taken care of, certainly we're willing to address problem areas elsewhere in the borough, but
yeah,
given our small public works department and trucking snow, Delaware takes a significant amount of time just to do that. So, again, it's one thing where, listen, if the school district's willing to supplement that up there, we open the road, and meanwhile they go up and do it, and no one's going to yell at them for doing that,
yeah.
as long as they don't damage the sidewalk. But, ultimately, that would be something that, cooperatively they might be able to do.
Okay, because I was, it would be like weeks into, or after a snowstorm, and it would just be like a great, like, bobcat trick, you know what I mean? Like, somebody would go up there and just kind of push it over, like, the school has like a little embankment at the top of Moravia Street that, like, is fenced, so anything that was pushed over wouldn't necessarily just, like, fall into the school playground, or, like, because there's, so just to, kind of know, like, how to, who to contact about that.
Well, again, I mean, and so I will tell you, obviously the school is a special situation, but, we handle even in small snowfalls, we handle a tremendous amount of concerns from residents who want they want their area cleared.
Right, no.
And there are literally 5 guys who work in public works that do
Yeah.
sewer and snow removal and everything else, so.
Right.
We try to get around and do as much as possible. There's just some things that just we realistically
Okay.
just can't get to. But
Yeah, okay, well, thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Anybody else wish to address the council? Seeing, hearing none, there's no executive session. I would remind everybody our next meeting is February the 6th, I believe, at 7 o'clock. It's the first Monday of the month. And I would encourage everybody to either attend in person or watch online. Is there anything else for the good of the organization? I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Ms. Johnson, is there a second? Mr. Trey, have a rising vote. Thank you for coming in.